9 in 10 parents back a social media ban for children under 16. That's quite a huge number, right? Well, this is the number the UK government have put out there to make sure that you understand that you're in the minority if you disagree with them. But interestingly enough, this number comes from, well, quite a few assumptions. I feel like it's in everyone's best interest to kind of have all of this out in the open because nuance is important. Not all of this is bad. Some of these people have their hearts in the right place. They're just being advised badly, or what I think is happening, they're ignoring all the expert advice. And right off the bat, if you're unaware, the UK is going through a lot of things at the moment. Currently, as you can tell, Hawaiian shirt's out because it's a bloody heat wave. It's 35 degrees. I've turned all the lights on so I can have a nice lighting situation, and I'm roasting. We've also got a new prime minister coming in soon, which is like saying I'm switching from Hovis to Kingsmill.
Corporate needs you to find the differences between this picture and this picture.
Okay.
They're the same picture.
But the big news, in my opinion, for the last month is the social media ban for everyone under 16. The reason this has been so weird to me is that this has been rejected by MPs like 3 times as recently as April, but it still passed somehow. Also, just so you're aware, I do have quite a few biases. One, as you can tell, I make YouTube videos for a living, and YouTube is wrapped up in this whole thing, so just want to put that out there, because I guess it's social media by some definitions. Also, second bias, I am a millennial at that exact age where my childhood, I didn't have social media. The iPhone came out when I was 17, I think. So basically, I got to live a life without social media, and then got to experience it in my 20s back when it was really nice. But I've never experienced the overwhelming algorithms that kids are dealing with these days when I was a kid. I got to deal with them when I was an adult. And so I do think that's really important to get out there, because every generation has experienced the internet in different ways. Without further ado, let's go into the fact sheet and see what the UK government want us to know. It's also really funny, Starmer released this and then just noped out of there like, yeah, you deal with it.
The government has decided to ban social media access for children under 16.
I will resign as leader of the Labour Party. Thank you very much.
Reminds me of when Cameron Brexited and then just bailed.
The British people have voted to leave the European Union, and as such, I think the country requires fresh leadership. So we'll have a new Prime Minister in that building behind me by Wednesday evening. Thank you very much. Right.
This is his situation, right? This is Starmer's Brexit. All right, so why are these changes being made? The government ran a consultation. They're saying it's one of the largest engagement exercises undertaken by this government, which is a very low bar because this government has not been in power for very long, but okay, give yourself a little trophy, little Obama. Obama giving himself a little medal. It says the results showed overwhelming public demand for action, with 9 in 10 parents backing a social media ban. So that's the big headline number you're seeing in the news. First off, who are the 9 out of 10 parents? The word parents is very important. This isn't very indicative of all of Britain. At the moment, it was the government saying, hey, we're doing a consultation. Are you a parent? Do you have opinions on social media? Come on in. These people are automatically going to have certain opinions on this that is going to skew the results. Secondly, let me just show you the question that was asked and see if you can see any problems with it. So question 12, would you support a legal requirement for social media services to have a minimum age of access? Yes or no? Well, it's an interesting question considering we already have age limits on social media services. If you didn't know, in the UK specifically, it's over 13 you're allowed to use it. So by asking this question, they're basically being like, do you agree that we even have some in general? And this question was actually used to whittle down the numbers even more, because if you selected no, you are then skipped on the next question, the one that became the 9 out of 10. And that one is, to what extent do you agree or disagree with the following statement? Social media services, undefined, should have a minimum age of access of at least 16. So that's the question that is wrapped up in this controversy after they've already filtered a lot of people out. But one of the big problems here, besides the filtering and the self-selected people, social media, as in the term social media, is not once defined in the entire consultation. Social media is quite a big term, right? What do you even consider social media these days? I feel like it was easier to define that back in like 2012 when things were actually social on social media, but every single social media app for the most part has just become the same slop feed, algorithmically engineered content to get you to stay on the apps. It's not about being social with friends. It's not about interacting with strangers. It's about serving you things to watch and consume. It's a very different, place these days. So basically in the consultation, people were asked if they support this social media ban without really understanding the context of what that's going to entail. Secondly, it doesn't really matter if it was 9 out of 10. It doesn't matter if it was 10 out of 10, and it doesn't actually matter if it was 1 out of 10. Because a junior minister was literally on record as saying, before the consultation closed, by the way, let me just make sure I quote this right, under any outcome, we will impose some form of age or functionality restriction on children under 16. So this consultation, bit of political theater from the UK government. They're not actually really caring about this number. They were like, oh, sweet, we somehow rigged it to be a 9 out of 10. Now, I will say also from my research, it does seem like a majority of the UK population are interested in solving this big problem with social media and children being on it all the time. My mom used to have different policies that she enacted on me and my brothers, but that's because she was doing this thing called parenting. The UK government is attempting to do this thing called parenting in a way that I know I'm coming off really negative. I do think it is important in some regard for the government to try and help when big crises like these are happening. Like I said, I've never experienced social media as a kid, and I know that it must be rough. I'm not a parent, so that's another bias. I don't have a kid that I'm worried about getting addicted to all these things. But it seems to me like there is a genuine issue with this algorithmic feed that's getting people dopamine addicted to their feeds, watch more ads, consume more content. And it feels like rather than the government going for that, they decided to take the freedoms away of children. So let's just scroll down. We have what is changing and what's banned. We're including platforms like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, and X. All right, so they call it X. We're not banning things like WhatsApp and Signal. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Thank you for your little biscuit crumbs. We plan to use the same model for social media ban as Australia. Just so you're aware, Australia passed a ban very similarly. It was a few months back. I want to say it's December 2025. And there actually have been a few studies since then. So it's interesting that we're referencing Australia, who did try something quite bold, because the studies that I've seen, well, the argument is not very good. According to the data we have here, the Molly Rose Foundation did a polling of Australians aged 12 to 15, and they found 61% still had accounts on banned platforms. Now, you could argue, hey, that's 39% that we got to stop doing the social media. Okay. I'll give you that. You saved 39% of the children in Australia. However, 51% said it made no difference to how safe they felt. I hear you. 49% feel safer. All right, fine. 14% reported feeling less safe. But considering that one of the main reasons Australia passed this was to keep children safe from bullying and such, it's kind of crazy that their own regulators' data found that there was no significant impact on a decrease in cyberbullying or image-generated abuse. So the whole reason they were saying it was to protect kids hasn't actually had much of an impact. But hey, maybe the UK can do it different. I am going to say it does seem like both Australia and the UK, I want to say they have the heart in the right place. I know we're going to the privacy complaints later, but if you kind of like just ignore all that and you go, what if they really want to protect the children? I feel like there's an argument to be made, which we're going to be making soon. The main issue I have with Section 2 at the moment is YouTube being in that, there's my bias, YouTube being in that is genuinely insane to me because of how educational it can be. I've learned so much from YouTube in my life. It's insane that they've just kind of thrown every single thing in there. I'm fairly certain if you ask the under 10,000 people that were polled for this, if YouTube should be included, they would probably say no to that and be like, YouTube social media? Yeah, they just released a DMing feature the other day for some reason. Way to go! It's basically like saying some mushrooms are poisonous, so you are never allowed to eat any mushrooms ever just to keep you safe, rather than, banning poison mushrooms, making sure that there's more education about the types of mushrooms out there. Some mushrooms might expand your mind. Who knows? But no, the UK government would rather just take away your freedom to enjoy those mushrooms. It just seems really asinine to me. It's clearly designed by people that are Gen X and above who really truly have lost it with the times, or maybe they just don't read anything, they don't stay up to news, they ignore their experts. I don't know. It just feels like YouTube, a platform specifically that has so much content for education. I taught myself linear algebra with YouTube when I was in university. I learned things all the time. I basically use YouTube and Reddit specifically to learn anything I want to learn about, and it's incredible. Why would we want kids to learn, says Keir Starmer? Then they might, when they turn 16, have an informed opinion because we've just allowed them to vote. Why not have an uninformed electorate be able to vote? That way they might vote for us. I mean, not really. You just ban them from using social media. Either way, when is it changing? Well, the government have put this in place and they said, we'll sort it out by 2027. So we have a year to figure out how to do this. Section 4, who will it affect? Children and young people. No, it affects everyone, but let's just start with this. Children and young people, crucially, that we still be able to access the online world safely for learning, news, games, and staying in touch with known friends. Jesus Christ. It's depressing. Also, it says here, you can still access social media, but live streaming and stranger communication, including gaming, will be switched off by default. Mate, depresses me so much. It's truly made by older people who have no experience of being children that have gaming or the internet in general. The reason being, if you didn't know, hi, my name is Edinger and I grew up in South Jersey in the USA. I grew up in a suburban hellscape where I couldn't really walk anywhere. I didn't really have many people I could go to hang out, but I made my best attempt. However, when I was 15, our family moved to the ruralist part of South Jersey. I didn't have any neighbors except for some cows and some corn. I didn't have many friends. I just moved to school, and the only people I could find personally to connect with were on the internet. It felt like not many people in my school had the same hobbies and interests as I did. Thankfully, through the power of the internet, I was able to make friends, and it was honestly really nice and made me feel like I wasn't so alone in this middle of cornfield area of Jersey. Secondly, I spent a lot of my life gaming very positively. I bring this up because by gaming and being able to game and chat, I made so many friends. Play is literally how kids learn. Making it so that kids cannot play and have that incredibly crucial social element has cut them off from so much life online. And I can't imagine myself eventually being a parent saying to my kid, yeah, sorry, that's just the way it is. Daddy government says you can't do that. Obviously, I'm gonna say, hey, you could just use my account. And you can probably be better than me because I'm going to train my kid to be better than me in games. But how will children be impacted? Well, from spring 2027, under 16s will no longer be able to use certain social media. They can still use the internet safely for learning and news, and shut the up. It's about reducing harm. Yeah, listen. This is how you know this was written by some octogenarian. This is about reducing harm, improving well-being, and giving young people more time for a healthier childhood. Like we had. My daddy used to whip me 3 times a night if I didn't open the newspaper to page 4 for him to look at those, or page 3 to the models. I don't know, I'm trying to make a British reference I wasn't here for. Daddy Starmer, who's just been denounced, who's just resigned. It's so funny. He basically dropped this bomb and went, see you later. All right, how will children be impacted? That's a good question. Well, you see, under 16s will no longer be able to use certain social media, but the UK government have assured us that kids can still go online for learning. Cool. I just wish there was someone intelligent working in the government. I really do. It feels like everything that we've read so far is because the government have noticed a problem. They have seen this problem. They're just ignoring it and instead taking away children's rights. The problem is obviously the algorithmic feeds. It is obviously these companies hijacking the attention spans and the dopamine receptors of not only our children, but everybody. And rather than tackle that beast, which I guess seems too big for tiny little UK government, they go, let's just take everyone's rights away. That's actually much better. And yes, I'm saying everyone because the adult section is coming up soon. What do I need to do now? Parents and children do not need to do anything now. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. We'll provide further details for families and children. What about people without families or children? All right, so here we go. Will all adults need to prove their age to access the social media services that become age restricted? It's a good question, because so far it's just been children and parents that have to worry about this, right? The government says, no. Many adults won't need to do checks because they've already got an account that has been open for more than 16 years, has a credit card connected to it, or is linked to an email address that's age verified in other ways. And here, I'm actually going to give a little pass. I actually think this element that has been kind of forced on platforms and forced on operating systems and such is actually not a bad thing. Basically, the issue at the moment is that there are infinite number of platforms. And as we've seen in Australia, if you ban TikTok and Instagram and these ones, well, TikTok is run in China and they're just gonna come up with a cloned app that you haven't banned yet. And then people are gonna flock to that. That's literally what happened. So by doing something where rather than trying to age gate every single app, you make it so that the device that you hold, the operating system, whether that be Apple, Android, whatever, that knows your age based on some information. You have a credit card on your account? You're probably over 18, right? How long has your iCloud account been active? Over 18 years? I mean, obviously this person's an adult, right? That makes sense. Recently, I've seen this come into power when I've been on Reddit on my phone. I'm scrolling on it and it says, hey, would you like to share what Apple thinks your age is to Reddit? And it just says that you're over 18. And I was like, oh, that'd be great. And then you go to an adult subreddit and Reddit still hasn't caught the memo and it goes, oi, you're in the UK. You need to give us a scan of your face. And you go, no, thank you. I guess I'm just gonna pop on the VPN like I normally do. Hello, I'm Swedish now. Embarrassing. But to wrap that up, I don't think it's been necessarily a bad idea that operating system wise, they know you're over 18. I don't think that's so bad of a thing, especially because it means practically there's nothing that you need to do as an adult. Your phone is just active, right? It doesn't actually impact you. Yes, there's still problems with children, but for us, it's not so bad. Next, we have some adults will have already done age verification checks under the existing Online Safety Act, so wouldn't have to do them again. I love that. Do adults have to prove their age? No! You guys already did that, right? For the Online Safety Act that didn't really work, was a complete flop, and it's embarrassing. We've kind of brought that up, because if that did work, why is there now another thing, right? It's almost like that didn't actually do what they're expecting, right? Finally, we have the final line. So, will adults need to prove their age? Well, if you haven't done any of the above, it could be as simple as facial recognition. That's the problem. It just is a bit insane to me that the government is either run by idiots or advised by idiots no, it's just run by idiots. It's run by idiots who truly, it's just so infuriating. It's so annoyingly disingenuous to be like, will adults need to prove their age? I mean, no, if they've already done it, but yeah, just a little cheeky scan of your face. That's the point that nobody wants to do. Scanning your face to put it on a third-party server for the government to be like, yep, this guy looking at big titties, that's his name, that's his face, and then boom, guess what? Oh no, the data leaked. Oh, I can't believe this happened. It's not an if, it's a when situation. It literally happens multiple times a year. It happens with shops in the UK. Nobody cares about data security. They don't hire enough people to care about data security because it's expensive, and the big people up top are like, oh, how can we make more money? Stop caring about data security. Even the government has had some recent leaks. It's embarrassing. And yet the government want us to give them our faces attached to any adult content we want to look at. Insane. But hey, it's okay. We've got VPNs, right? For now. Section 8, how will it work? We'll have a range of methods. Ofcom will figure it out. Love that. So essentially they went, listen, we don't know. We've passed the law. We're hoping that Ofcom can figure that out. I have made an entire video about Ofcom. They're basically run by people that are in their 70s and 80s who are trying to basically subject the rest of society to their outdated version of media, essentially. I will say Ofcom as an idea, great. The regulator, they're like the FCC of the UK. Their goal is to make sure everything is safe and good and sure. How it actually operates, it's just run by 70 and 80-year-olds who are completely out of touch with society and are trying to force their old-ass way of life on everyone else and go, why does everyone not like us? That's very strange, right? This next one is my favorite response on the entire thing just because of how little they actually answer the question. What about educational content on sites like YouTube? Will this be covered in the ban? It's a very good question because a lot of educational content is on YouTube. I don't know about you, but I learn a huge amount. I've learned how to code. I've taught myself home networking. I've taught myself video editing. I've taught myself photo editing. I've taught myself pretty much everything I know from websites like Reddit and YouTube. So that is a good question. What about the educational content on these sites, right? It's going to be blocked from them? Let's see what the UK government have to say. The internet plays a huge role in children's education, and we are clear that this has to continue. Okay, so let's just move that sentence aside. It's not actually answering the question. We're not looking to bring dedicated educational platforms which support schoolwork and learning under these new rules. Okay, so that didn't answer the question as well. Okay, I don't know what they're going on, right? There's wasted the whole first paragraph. Let's keep going. Our focus is on protecting children from harmful content and features on social media. Jesus Christ, all right, that's 3 sentences. Just not answer the question. What about the educational content, right? You just keep waffling. At the same time, platforms have a clear opportunity to create spaces designed for children that prioritize safe educational content without those risks. The government is basically saying, yes, we are banning educational content. We're just hoping the platforms figure it out. Basically make some sort of YouTube Kids. Wait a minute. We already made a YouTube Kids. Have any of you accidentally stumbled upon a video that is selected for YouTube Kids? It's awful. It kind of defeats the entire purpose of YouTube. In fact, it makes people less intelligent if you think about it, because mistakes can be made. Comments are actually an incredibly important part of the YouTube experience. For instance, the other day, I just made a simple video about why the trains in Mexico City run on rubber wheels. I went to Mexico City. I thought it was interesting. I spent some time researching it, but it was quite a quick one, and I was pretty proud of it until the comments came in, and there were some very angry people from Montreal, Canada. They were like, Evan, in the video, you claimed that Mexico City was the second country that had these wheels. It was us in Montreal. Mistake. What do I do? The video's already up. Now I'm misinforming people. Boom, pin the comment. That solves the problem, right? Unless you're a kid, because if there's some sort of YouTube Kids platform that disables content like comments to keep the kids safe from the online predators in the comment section, well, I guess they won't be able to know that the little correction was there. Don't worry, the kids are safe from reading about trains. I'm hoping that somehow the government looks into this and goes, okay, maybe Ofcom can work with the government and YouTube to kind of make more carve-outs to make this make more sense. But considering Ofcom is just really not a fan of YouTube, and they just very much want the BBC because all their 80-year-old asses are just sitting in their little boardroom like, I miss the good old days of Faulty Towers being the only thing on TV. Me, this YouTube shit. I don't understand, Mr. Beastie. So in essence, yes, the government is banning educational content, because you if you want to learn things. We're the Labour Party, not the learning party. Next up, the question that's on everybody's mind. Won't children just use VPNs or their parents' accounts to get around this? Isn't this unenforceable? Yeah, it's actually a really astute observation. Australia already has data for this, but let's just see what the government want you to think. We are aware of concerns that children may attempt to circumvent age checks. Yeah, you're aware of that? That's good to know. I'm glad somebody told you about that now. That is why we've commissioned research to better understand how they're doing it. basically it's like, isn't this unenforceable? Like, isn't this literally not gonna work? Can't they just use the parents' account? We're looking into how to do that. Oh, you could have done that before, right? You could have maybe looked into it a little bit before. It just seems a bit insane to pass this law without thinking. We want to assess this evidence to ensure any decisions we take are proportionate and evidence-based. To protect the children! Yes, of course. Oh my God, I can't believe I said it. There's legitimate uses of VPNs. Oh God, thank God they're legitimate. I didn't know there were illegitimate uses. But there's legitimate uses for VPNs, such as privacy and freedom of speech purposes. And the UK government are going to tell us their thoughts in July. Hooray. Now, I've seen some reports saying that they're going to plan on banning VPNs. I've seen reports saying that they're not. I'm here to say, I don't think they can feasibly ban VPNs. What I do think, this is just my prediction, maybe it ages like milk, who knows. I do think they're going to be attempting to age-gate VPN services using the operating system device-wide age thing that we were talking about earlier. If your device is deemed to be an adult, if you have a credit card on file, or if you've scanned your face and given it to the daddy government, well, then you can use a VPN, even though that defeats the purpose of freedom of speech and privacy thing. But hey, that's what I think they might attempt to do. If you're unaware, VPNs are used by nearly every business that has any important data. I use a VPN all the time, not to change my browsing location. I actually genuinely use it for my business when I'm out. I travel to Mexico, I travel to Taiwan. How do I get all my data on my server in a encrypted way so that nobody's able to take it over, and also that my editor can access it and it's all secure? We use a VPN, a WireGuard client over Tailscale. It's excellent. Most every single media company that you've ever heard of, the government themselves, they're all using virtual private networks because it's sensible. So the government can't really ban VPNs because it would pretty much disrupt the entire business economy of the UK. I feel like maybe when it comes to the economy, maybe the UK won't shoot themselves in the foot. But we did Brexit a few years back, right? So, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll do it again. We do have 2 feet. And then at the end here, what will children do with the time they currently spend on social media? This is what you call a performative question. Like, oh no, what are my kids gonna do? And they're like, don't worry, they can play outside. And granted, the government have said here, well, we're gonna be investing lots of money to give them stuff to do. You know when you could have done that? Before the ban? Maybe you put those in place and go, look, kids, we built you a pool. We brought back all the stuff that the other government took from austerity. We're giving it back. And then you could be like, isn't that pool nice? Isn't that youth club nice? However, yet again, I must emphasize, not everyone lives in a city. Not everyone lives a quick drive away from a youth center. Some people, like myself when I was a kid, lived in a very rural area with no access to anyone's social. So taking away all that social element of social media, I feel like it's pretty f***ed up, actually. Especially, yet again, the gaming element, where it's just random. You're never connecting really long term unless you really go out of your way. You're just kind of chatting with people, interacting with people, and learning about the world around you. I would say that 99% of the internet is actually quite good. The 1% that's bad is really bad, and there are some bad people out there. But you can't just ban the entire internet because the 1% of bad people. There was a big movement in the 2000s to make jungle gyms super duper safe. Kids can climb on them, but they can't get hurt. They made them so incredibly safe that it turns out they were a lot less effective at teaching kids the main thing they learned while on jungle gyms. Risk analysis. When you can get hurt, when you are climbing as a kid up a thing and when you fall, you actually hurt, you begin to actually learn like, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'm learning, I'm making mistakes. Oh, I don't want to do that again. It's one of the best ways of learning. That's why kids learn so much when they play. By removing those actual risks and making it so they never get hurt, they're actually missing out on that incredibly crucial bit of learning. That is what the government is essentially doing here by taking away kids' access to social media, gaming, chat, some of the nicest parts of the internet. Am I saying, oh, well, let's just throw kids in a pool of pedos? No, thank you, sorry. Am I saying let's throw kids in the deep end of the worst parts of the internet? No. Now, if I was someone that was in the government that really wanted to keep kids safe, you know what I would do? I don't think I'd hire someone that used to be really close with Epstein. I will say, to throw the tiniest of bone here, I feel like both Australia and the UK, they have seen the genuine issue here. The genuine issue with algorithmic content hijacking all of our dopamine receptors. But it's really stupid. And it's upsetting when I read every single article about like, well, what do experts say? And the experts are like, this is a bad idea. And I'm like, why is the UK government not listening to its experts?
I think the people in this country have had enough of experts.
I don't know. That is why many conspiracy theorists and such are coming up with, they are doing this specifically to get more data on adults, to get more data on everyone so that they can control more. And that's really disturbing because I don't want to believe that. I want to believe that the UK government have their heart in the right place and they do actually want to protect the children and they do really notice that this algorithm shit is awful. They just don't know how to solve that problem and don't seem to have the ears to listen to people that at least have some ideas. Hey, we'll see how this gets on. And 2027, I guess that's when it will come into fruition, and we'll see how it actually cracks on. So thank you very much for staying in touch with this one. This is kind of a off-the-cuff vid. I felt this was annoying. It's in between some of my other travel vids. And like I said, it's so hot right now. I hope you're all functioning well, because I am drenched and I want to die. And if my YouTube analytics show me that my UK audience is dropped, I'm assuming it's because all of you have changed location because you actually care about your privacy rights. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you back on my channel next Sunday. Goodbye.
The leaders of the US, India, China, Australia, every single one of our allies, the Bank of England, the IFS, the IMF, the CBI, 5 former NATO Secretary Generals, the Chief Exec of the NHS, and most of the leaders of the trade unions in Britain all say that you, Boris and Nigel, are wrong. Why should the public trust you over them?
I think the people in this country have had enough of experts with organisations from acronyms.
The people of this country have had enough of experts.
From organisations with acronyms saying that they know what is best and getting it consistently wrong.
Because
these people